This is our last episode with accountant certified CPA Derick Brown and his wonderful little book, The Real Estate Invest Handbook. In this episode, we're going to try and summarize a little bit and try to give you a sense as an investor, a property investor in Panama, on just big picture what you need to be aware of. What are your tax obligations when you invest in property in Panama? So, first question. What are your obligations when you invest in property in Panama? Just gives me a summarized list.
Right. So for an investment property, it will be one, make sure that electronic invoices are being issued.
Yeah.
Two, property taxes, depending on if you have an exoneration. That will depend on the properties that you own, but you have to make sure that if you have an exoneration, the exoneration is applied. If not, make sure that your property taxes are paid quarterly. Three, it will be accounting records. So if you're renting out your property, you have to keep proper accounting records.
Whether it's a corporation or a natural person, both
Right.
things.
Four, it will be deductions. So you have to make sure that all of your costs and expenses are being documented through official fiscal invoices, which that's also soon to be a thing of the past, or electronic invoices. Also depreciation, make sure the depreciation is being calculated on the improvement value and not on the land value, because for tax purposes, land does not depreciate. And yeah, those will be the main list of your obligations in Panama. And lastly, annual tax return. If you have an investment property that's generating income, if it's a corporation, you have until March 31st of every year to file tax returns. If it's a private person, you have until March 15th. There is in Panama we have a 30-day extension where you can request to the government to extend your deadline for 30 days. However, the deadline is just for the filing, not for the payment. So if you owe income taxes, the income taxes will still have to be paid by March 31st, even though you have until April 30th to file the
So
tax
you
return.
need to have an understanding on how much
Yes.
that's going to
So
be
even
in
yes.
order to pay it, and
Yes.
even if the filing is afterwards.
Yes. So the kind of funny, but the 30-day exoneration benefits me as the accountant more, because the tax return has to be prepared and with all the information. But if the accounting records is up to date, then we can do a calculation of how much your income tax will be.
Yeah.
You pay it by March 31st, and then depending on, maybe we need some more details for the different tax return categories, then we have 30 days more to file.
Okay. I see that you also refer in your book to another book that is called like the Monthly Accounting Dilemma. I thought it was a funny name.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God, I'm not the only one struggling with this.
Yeah, so a couple months ago, I wrote this is an ebook. I don't have it in print. It's a short ebook called Decoding the Monthly Accounting Dilemma in Panama. Is
What did
it
you mean by
optional or mandatory for businesses to keep monthly accounting records? And this book came about because I was going back and forth with a client, trying to explain to him again to understand why it wasn't optional to do monthly accounting and why I couldn't do his tax return without previously doing the monthly accounting. So in this ebook, I basically break down all the different regulations that lets you know why it is mandatory for every business to keep monthly accounting. And also, because there's a big misconception about this with business owners and investors, where they believe it's optional, or they believe they can just do it on an Excel spreadsheet, or they can just send me a box of invoices at the end of the year, and with those invoices I can do the tax return. So in this ebook, I try to explain why first it's mandatory to keep your accounting records on a monthly basis, the different penalties that involve in not doing that, and why we as CPAs cannot prepare a corporation or personal tax return without previously having done the accounting records.
Okay. All right. So a lot to unpack there. Get the book.
It's a really short.
That was like a little moment. One of the things that I know it happens to me, and I know it happens to clients. you don't necessarily have this proactivity from lawyers and CPAs on calling clients and say, hey, March is coming, you need to present all of this stuff. So give me a bird's eye view. When, in general, is it March? When should an investor be knocking on the door of the CPA saying, hey, I need this, hey, I need that? Make sure to, like, what does that calendar looks like?
Right. So for property taxes, property taxes in Panama are paid quarterly. So it is April 30th, August 31st, and December 31st. So those are the deadlines. There is a discount if you pay in advance by February. So it's a 10% discount. And there's actually, this video is coming out this month. So there's actually, if you pay your 2024 property taxes in advance by November 30th, then you can get a 25% discount on your next year property taxes. However, so that's on property taxes. For income tax, deadlines are March 31st. For corporation, March 15th for individuals. However, this is a deadline to file and pay. So the idea will be to get in touch with your accountant once your property starts generating income. And even if you can do it better, prior, even better. But once you start generating income, it will be best to get in touch with your accountant to make sure that everything is being kept properly, and so that you can also know how to take advantage of the different tax regulations or tax exemption that you have in Panama.
I would say, I mean, I know that at least for me, I'm going to start keeping a calendar just to be proactive about things, because again, not necessarily somebody's going to be knocking on your door to remind you of doing things. If the date passes, it's on you.
Yeah.
And that's how it is. So keep a record, keep a calendar. And I would say from everything that I've personally learned in this series, I know that you now have to be really serious and mindful about having a CPA in your Panama team. Again, thank you, Derick, so much. For everybody out there, I cannot recommend this series more. The book, find it in the link below, and get conversant, understand what we're talking about, and talk to your lawyer. If you don't have an accountant, ta-da, where can they find you?
So you can find me, you can get in contact with me on my email, Derick@thinkcpa.pa, or you can follow us on our socials @thinkcpa.
And again, thank you for all of you who are entrepreneurs. Derick also wrote a book for entrepreneurs. I know that's like a completely different thing, but I know it has so many elements in common. I know that once you start opening corporations and operations, you're going to want to know more. Thank you so much. And again, if you like this content, subscribe and share it, because it's really, really important material that we saw in this series. Thank you again.